Hey guys, you're watching part 13 in my Nikke Goddess of Victory lore series. I've designed these videos to cater to both veterans and newcomers alike. We'll be blazing through the main story, usually with a spoiler segment at the end to discuss relevant details. We've got a lot of plot to get through today though, so Dai-chan's section will be used for even more of the main story. This current arc of the narrative is one of my favorites, escalating things to a whole new level. Last we left off, the arc's Dome of Eternity was damaged in a massive explosion, leaving behind a cavity through which raptures have invaded. The commander and his counter squad arrive just when all hell breaks loose. In such a dire situation, the most informed authority in the arc is Enoch, its AI. Thus, we fight our way through the invading raptures en route to her chamber, rescuing civilians along the way. All things considered, the streets are surprisingly clean. It appears that, 10 minutes before the explosion, an evacuation order had been issued for all citizens, preventing casualties. Folly and Miranda, who bore witness to the blast, help us navigate the fallen city until we get close enough for Enoch's communication hotspot. The AI then shows us a video of key events that occurred in the last 3 days leading to this incident. Unsurprisingly, it all traces back to the Outer Rim. I'll go ahead and summarize the most important details. Basically, it all started in the aftermath of Matisse's publicity stunt. News of raptures encroaching on the Ark stirred fear and doubt, particularly among the outlaws. The presence of heroic Nikkes from Matisse means little to the Outer Rim, as people there aren't prioritized in emergencies. They also lack legal means to protect themselves. Heavenly Ascension certainly qualifies as a terrorist group, but they really are trying to advocate for these outlaws. Their current leader, a woman going by the name E.H., actually tried to go about things properly, arranging a meeting with the central government's deputy chief Doban. In light of recent scares, E.H. straight up begged for Nikkes to be stationed around the Outer Rim as a safety precaution, just in case raptures ever actually invaded. Unfortunately, she went to the wrong guy, as Doban is an arrogant piece of shit with too much power for his own good. He turned E.H. down and even tried to kill her, citing how it'd be a waste of resources, given he doesn't consider any of the Outer Rim's people human. Well, E.H. survived that encounter and decided to take matters into her own hands. Via the dark net, she purchased 200 rifles and an obsolete excavation bomb. Technically, these were weapons meant for Nikkes to use, but humans could still fire them in an emergency. As for the bomb, it was originally made for digging, but it could totally be used by the Outer Rim as a final, sacrificial precaution, killing both themselves and the raptures. It's morbid, but a lot of outlaws would rather die by their own hands than let the raptures take them. Obviously, this is all highly illegal, so E.H. planned to transport these weapons using abandoned elevators within the Outer Rim. Don't forget, the Ark has a ton of entrances, many of which no longer work. Outlaws, however, have trusted in some of these sketchy elevators to make a living gathering resources on the surface. In the same way, E.H. would use the surface as a means of moving her contraband. Normally, such a plan would never come to fruition due to the presence of Underworld Queen. They're a squad of Nikkes from Tetraline who are in charge of keeping order in the Outer Rim. While Crow, Viper, and Jackal are supposed to be doing something similar, Underworld Queen is arguably more effective due to their widespread gangs. The idea is that, by participating in the criminal underworld, they can effectively control it. To that end, these girls are permitted to kill humans, if necessary, though that's not an invitation to go on a rampage. Let's start with Sakura. She's the leader of a Yakuza syndicate called the Seimeikai. While its members are criminals, Sakura holds them to a high code of honor. They have no idea she's a Nikke, expecting her to carry on her family line according to old tradition. To be fair, her human father was the sect's former head honcho. Sakura grew up with many siblings, and while that was pleasant, it became a problem when her father caught a terminal illness before officially naming his heir. The Seimeikai fell into political unrest, with violent schemes to claim the throne. It practically caused the organization to collapse in on itself. To prevent this, though, Sakura used a dagger to claim her own life and be made into a Nikke who wouldn't suffer from human weakness. She then claimed the Seimeikai for herself, with a resolve strong enough to convince her father's subordinates. After the organization stabilized, Mustang recruited her into Underworld Queen with the vision of balancing the Outer Rim's power dynamic. Sakura's vision for the Seimeikai is more ethical than her father's, which sparks drama among the group's more influential members. The commander helps ease her mind as she decides how to handle the discovery of a new hallucinogenic flower on the surface. The gang wants to mass-produce this drug, even though cultivating it is so dangerous that people have died when exposed to the flower's pollen. Worried that her subordinates may threaten her life over this situation, the commander looks after Sakura while they go on dates. Ultimately, Sakura opts to burn the dangerous flowers, instead gambling on the production of rare teas. This alternative business venture turns a profit, convincing the more traditionally minded member, Genzo, to bear witness to her new strategies. For wanting to protect her, she kisses the commander, wanting him all to herself. Yeah, good luck with that. During the summer event, Beauty Full Shot, Sakura whisks the commander off to an inlet where she can be alone with him. Beyond kissing, she wants to get more intimate, but holds off until the day she can claim both him and the Seimeikai without contest. Still, she does have the commander pretend to marry her to imply she'll have descendants. The task of minimizing Seimeikai's unethical practices puts them at risk of losing power to their rival, Hedonia. Hedonia's leader is Rosanna, running more of a mafia-styled organization. Of course, she too is secretly employed by Tetra, but that doesn't dampen her competitive edge in the underworld. Compared to Sakura, who grew up in the relative luxury of the Seimeikai mansion, Rosanna was born as an illegitimate child of an Outer Rim prostitute. Her father, some rich sovereign who didn't bother to use a condom, didn't even know she existed. Her true guardian wound up being the previous boss of Hedonia. She worked for the group as a hitman, racking up an intimidating kill count. When she finally decided to quit being a killer for hire, her adoptive father had her gunned down, suspecting she was planning to revolt against him. That wasn't her plan, but ironically, her brain was sold off to be made into a Nikke, after which she returned to Hedonia to take revenge. Having usurped its throne, Rosanna leads Hedonia in an effort to balance power in the Outer Rim. While she's personally down for all manner of illicit activities, she tempers the group's schemes as part of her agreement with Underworld Queen. Even so, she runs a tight ship, threatening all who oppose her and respecting those who follow her orders. This especially applies to her consigliere, a woman who can often be found right at her side. The former boss's son, Anthony, winds up surviving and threatens to kill her boss in return. Like an idiot, he doesn't target Mustang, but rather us, as we're serving as her commander. To protect us, Rosanna forces herself into the outpost and demands to live with us for a few days. While holed up for our own safety, we lose to her in gambling, and she almost makes the naughty list. It depends on what you consider 3 times as intense as a kiss. Even after Consigliere takes care of Anthony, the commander offers to spend more time with Rosanna, even if it means putting himself in more danger. I say her former stunt doesn't make the list, since she's now planning something even more passionate with him. These plans are hindered when Anthony's goons shoot the commander on the street. Like a total Chad, though, the commander wakes up from a coma, only to remind Rosanna they still have unfinished business on the hospital's bed. Hot damn, she makes the list after all. For him, she's willing to break her vow to Underworld Queen if it means getting revenge on his attackers. The one often left in the dark of UQ's rivalry is Moran, leader of the Peony Association, which operates like a triad syndicate. This group is much smaller, but earns its influence by offering services free of charge, such as escorting people to the surface or other dangerous places. Moran's squad mates consider her an airhead, but she mostly just believes helping people will lead to good fortune. Despite this, she has a knack for attracting trouble. Moran may be the most compassionate of this squad, but she's still a stoic crime boss when the need arises. Just don't tell her any secrets, as she can be read like an open book. She's got her own right-hand man, Jin, who swears to living as a pacifist. Understandably, given Moran's business model, she struggles securing funds for Peony's upkeep. When Sakura and Rosanna refuse to help her, she turns to the commander for aid finding a part-time job. After failing miserably at various jobs around the arc, they try starting their own business as debt collectors, but it also fails because Moran is too understanding of people's financial woes. She's not gonna take money from someone who's struggling. Still, she reluctantly accepts one final request from a sickly old woman who needs to reclaim loaned money for medical treatments. Sadly, the debtor has taken their own life and has no money to show for it. It's a good thing Moran has Jean as her subordinate, though. After taking a chance investing with credit, he scores enough money to solve Peony's troubles, and then some. Kind as ever, Moran uses some of the proceeds to pay for the old woman's medical care. She then hopes to make her own fortune through investing, but given her luck, the commander warns her against it. So yeah, her gang is practically a charity fund, but Moran wouldn't have it any other way. Oh, and she loves dinosaurs. Maybe she's too innocent to be a crime lord, but I adore her because of it. It's worth noting that the women of Underworld Queen feature in a trilogy of side events that deal with the nefarious 6-0. I may or may not cover those events after we finish up with this current debacle. Like I said before, normally, Underworld Queen would have caught on to EH's weapons smuggling, but they got distracted by a false lead that the casino coin rush was going to be attacked by Heavenly Ascension. As such, Sakura, Rosanna, and Moran were all too busy trying to inspect the place under the guise of offering protection. I realize we're in the heat of some crazy business at the Ark, but we aren't going to get a better chance to introduce these girls. You see, Coin Rush just so happens to be the Ark's largest casino and entertainment center. It's all above board, unlike the entertainment found in the Outer Rim. It's also owned and operated by bunny girls, mainly from the Squad 777. They supposedly have 4 members, though one of them, Jean, has only ever been mentioned in passing. Star among them are the sisters Blanc and Noir, the white and black bunnies respectively. Their advertising gimmick is that immense luck shines down on those who witness the sisters together. They also have contrasting personalities and body types. Blanc is the petite, outgoing type who loves putting on a show for the crowd. She's kind, wanting to share her luck with everyone. The only people she dislikes are those who threaten her beloved sister. One day, when the commander is burdened by misfortune, Blanc offers to hang out with him as a good luck charm. Sure enough, their date seems blessed by the heavens, being able to skip the line at a popular restaurant, get a free dessert, and find an artificial 4-leaf clover. We realize our luck increases the closer we are to Blanc, with the effects being really pronounced after a kiss. The downside is that the more luck she gives us, the more fatigued she becomes. Regardless, she falls for us and wants to confess her feelings again alongside her sister. Does that mean what I think it means? Comparatively, Noir is a voluptuous introvert. She's also hopelessly naive about romance, knowing very few men outside of work. Apparently, before becoming Nikke's, these bunnies really did used to be biological siblings. When the two of them are together, Noir's nervousness just washes away, allowing her to perform on stage. Despite her naivete, she notices many of her guests wishing for luck on their romantic confessions. Hoping to understand this better, she recruits us to teach her about love, specifically Eros. Blanc gets a lot of that sort of attention, and Noir wonders if she's unattractive for not being as popular with it. Proving her attractiveness should be easy, given her best skill is pole dancing. Most people would probably swoon just from her design alone, proven when the commander gets his face smushed between her chest. We and Noir practice pole dancing together at a studio, even indulging in some joint maneuvers, like an airwalk. At dinner, Noir gulps down some champagne, getting drunk enough to want to kiss. She learns plenty about love when she and the commander return to the studio for some more advanced moves. Wow, this timid bunny actually makes the naughty list. The final member of 777 is its leader, Rouge. She's Coin Rush's head game master, working hard to ensure the casino's games remain fair for all participants, despite her fondness for the commander specifically. When serving to challenge her customers, she maintains a perfect poker face. Rouge is highly superstitious and worried about encountering bad luck. As a morning ritual, she flips a coin to decide her fortune. If it lands tails, she spends the entire day paranoid for herself and those close to her. This concern is validated by the unlucky things that follow her on bad days, and not even the bunnies can offset it. When this happens, her usual poker face begins to crack under pressure, making her even more depressed. Naturally, she worries this lapse in perfection will ruin her as a professional, and that her bad luck will infect other players. The commander is undeterred, offering to help cure her supposed jinx. He plays both skill and luck-based games with her to prove her bad luck isn't transferring to him. Before long, she starts seeing her jinx as a rival to overcome, and is actually disappointed when her coin lands on heads. So yeah, the Nikkes of Underworld Queen tried to pressure Blanc and Noir into striking a deal for protection from potential saboteurs. Their concern, and the subsequent scare at the casino, wound up being a distraction for EH to make her move. By the time the crime lords confronted EH, her plans were already in motion. Rather than empowering people in the Outer Rim, they feared this would have the opposite effect. Even if they wanted to protect themselves, news of their military might would only cause the central government to see them as a threat. The last thing any of them wanted was for the military to attack the Outer Rim. Right on cue, Doban showed up at the elevator, catching EH in the act. Only 5 people were supposed to know about her plan, so one of them must have leaked info to Doban. Turns out, the culprit here was Viper, acting on behalf of Crow. Thanks to this, Doban squashed the Queen's chance to escalate the matter peacefully. EH proceeded to the elevator, only to find that Doban had locked it in advance. Desperate, she revealed that her body was laced with explosives, and threatened to take Doban out with her. Like a coward, though, the hot-headed prick just hid behind his mass-produced lackeys. All of a sudden, EH noticed the lock over the elevator falling off, allowing her to escape to the surface. It was as if someone bit through the lock's chain. Again, this was Jackal's doing, as part of Crow's plan. Up on the surface, EH noticed too late that her excavation bomb had activated all on its own. A message on its panel showed the text John D, finally confirming Crow's involvement. EH was unable to stop this bomb from detonating, and its blast was strong enough to punch a hole through the Ark's ceiling. As its former leader, Crow had been manipulating Heavenly Ascension to bring about this disaster. Enoch confirms as such while showing us the footage she compiled thus far. After beckoning us to visit her in person, she calculates it'll take 6 hours for the ceiling to be repaired with the help of mighty tools. Since the Ark is filled with Nikkes, and the streets have already been evacuated, there's plenty of help eliminating the raptures that snuck in. While she's got those issues taken care of, there's a much bigger problem she wants us to resolve. Nihilister, the heretic we fought with Eden, is now booking it straight for the Ark, raring to take advantage of our vulnerable state. The Fire Dragon must be after the remains of Chatterbox and Material H. In fact, Nihilister arrives while we're still speaking with Enoch in her chamber. Not even her lingering fear of Vaphouse will keep her from us. Thus, it's not long before flames melt through the building. Thankfully though, Enoch's control of the environment holds out long enough for help to arrive. Like an angel sent from heaven, Dorothy descends, promising to save the Ark and make one hell of a good first impression. In a single attack, Dorothy strikes down the invading heretic. Treating it like no big deal, she drags the corpse to us as an offering. She plans to take her gift to Birmingham, who invited her for negotiations. Since this is Dorothy's first visit to the Ark, ever, she needs someone to show her the way. Miranda and Folly volunteer to escort her to the central government's headquarters. With the Rapture invasion more or less being handled by other Nikkes, the commander and counters set their sights on Missilus HQ. The big 3 CEOs still don't know that Exotic betrayed us, and are likely the culprits behind this mess. Siwen, Ingrid, and Mustang meet with us to hear the truth. There happens to be plenty of circumstantial evidence linking to Exotic, but the best way to confirm their guilt would be to apprehend them and perform some brain scans. Doing so would also confirm Siwen's ineptitude, so she tries to skip due process by reaching for her phone. Luckily, we stop her from detonating the Nikke's explosive collars, and Mustang straight up crushes her phone under his heel. The dude's fashion sense comes in handy for once. It's very important we can prove this is Exotic's fault, as it will exonerate Heavenly Ascension and the people of the Outer Rim, saving countless innocent lives. To actually find these renegade Nikkes, we set out for the Outer Rim ourselves. Still desperate to sweep this all under the rug, Siwen seeks out another device to execute them from, only to find that Missilus' communications network is down. She then turns to Mihara and Yuni, ordering them to find and execute Exotic before we can. Our task is made harder when we notice the Outer Rim's main partition is wide open, and raptures have flooded in. Moran is there, front and center, doing her best to weed them out. Since none of us know where Exotic is, Moran suggests we search Heavenly Ascension's base, and even obtains coordinates to it from a low-level member of the group. Unfortunately, we don't find any clues there. Instead, Exotic makes the first move, with Viper emerging from the shadows to pull the commander down a dark shaft. It was sudden, but Rapi was able to follow us down. She tries to protect us, but Viper rigged the underground corridor below the shaft with flamethrowers. Unable to fight back, we have no choice but to follow Viper as she takes us to Crow. Along the way, the commander cleverly distracts Viper, making sure her back is turned to Rapi, who in turn alerts Anise and Neon to our location. Our reinforcements arrive just as Crow and Jackal show up. Exotic isn't strong enough to best counters in a fair fight, so they resort to dirty tricks. Viper has all the flamethrowers go off at once, burning away all the shaft's oxygen. It's not a problem for Nikke's, but the commander begins to suffocate. She's got an oxygen mask and uses it as a bargaining chip so the counters back off. With the commander hostage, Exotic breaks our mobile devices and trackers. Neon, however, is able to sneak a smoke grenade into our back pocket before we're separated. Meanwhile, Doban ignores his duty to protect the Ark from raptures to go on a purge of the Outer Rim. With an army of illegally hired Nikke's, he plans to exterminate everyone there. Fearing this, Sakura and Rosanna work hard to convince the Outer Rim's people to forego their arms and surrender peacefully. If they hold on to their guns, they'll only validate Doban's paranoia. Moran stands by at the open partition, refusing to let the bastard in so easily. This is where her thug side really shines. Tied to a chair with tight restraints, the commander listens as Crow divulges her motivation for the rapture attack. She feels Nikke phobia comes from the Ark's military and citizens no longer remembering the true horror raptures represent. By letting raptures into the Ark, she hopes to put everyone on a level playing field, seeing raptures in person as opposed to on TV. She's pissed off because most people have been evacuated to shelters and still haven't directly encountered those raptures. Crow wants to force this confrontation and make the Ark re-evaluate its stance on Nikke's, for better or worse. This is where Yuni comes in. Rather than hunt for Exotic like she's been ordered, Yuni steals a camera broadcasting the invasion. She then lets loose a single rapture on an empty shelter and films it to create the false idea that the shelters aren't safe. This convinces dozens of people to open their shelters from inside and flock into the streets downtown. Panicked and irrational, they run directly into the rapture's line of fire and get massacred. Their riot distracts the Nikke's protecting them, and they foolishly harm themselves trying to fight the raptures on their own. Hundreds of civilians are killed in the chaos. Unable to sit idly by as he watches this on TV, the commander struggles until his chair falls over, setting off the smoke grenade in his pocket. The smoke it emits allows Guillotine and Maiden of Extrinsic to find him. Though, Crow had already prepared for this exact situation, having Jackal turn off her hearing sensors in advance. As a result, Jackal is immune to Maiden's Kotodama and incapacitates her. While Jackal stays behind to fight Guillotine, Crow and Viper make their escape. Fortunately, Guillotine's lethal eye is effective in stopping Jackal's heart and taking her captive. She would have done this much earlier, but the lethal eye can only be used once at a time before needing to be recharged. Now that the commander is free, he wants to pursue Exotic, but chooses to prioritize quelling the riots. Outside the building we were held in, we reunite with counters and order them to fight the nearby raptures. Once the combat dies down and counters are busy searching for stragglers, Yuni shows up to confront the commander. Completely delusional, she thinks we've come here to bring her some Vapaus, as Crow has led her to believe. Instead, we reprimand her, so she uses her power to paralyze us and steal our hard-earned Vapaus bullet. God damn it, these things are so easy to lose. Meanwhile, in a safer part of the city, Dorothy learns that, even though the Ark doesn't have many records of the Goddess Squad, they are nonetheless celebrated with statues. I'd like to think we have Oswald to thank for whatever records do remain, as the central government definitely wanted to bury their reputation. From Dorothy's perspective, though, it's still pretty fucked up. The Ark is only around thanks to her struggle, and she was denied the access promised to her years ago. All of the injured civilians are to be transported to the Macilis Medical Center by Infinity Rail and their AZX train, which is returned to its main duty on the Ark's railway system. Seeking to repeat the past, Crow catches wind of this and sneaks on board. Recall that Crow was responsible for blowing up the AFX train, killing Soline, Brid, Diesel, and her brother. Thinking she can do it again, she plants a bomb in the bathroom. However, since that incident, the AZX has been outfitted with signal intercepting technology, which prevents Crow from detonating her bomb. Diesel and Celine confront Crow and confirm she was responsible for the previous bombing. Having lost her brother, Diesel wants revenge, and Crow even eggs her on, citing ways she can overcome her inhibitor. Ultimately, Diesel can't bring herself to fire, though I think it would have been fine had she used suppression bullets instead. Regardless, what's done is done. Taking advantage of Diesel's hesitation, Crow disembarks the AZX just as it reaches the medical center. As all this is going on, back at the Nikke Rehabilitation Center, Jackal has her brain scanned, revealing that she's been blindly following Crow's orders with no concept of the larger conspiracy. Good for her, bad for our investigation. After Yuni had her way with him, the commander regains his ability to move and quickly deduces that if Yuni is working with Exotic, and they have Vapaus, they must be targeting Siuin. When we get close enough to contact Siuin, she gets pissed off and blocks our texts. Like a complete imbecile, she instantly comes running when Yuni claims to have captured Crow. In her director's office, Siuin meets Yuni and Mihara. Through sheer mental fortitude, Yuni is able to use her power to blind and incapacitate Siuin. Even with her inhibitor still active, she beats the ever-loving shit out of her helpless boss. Mihara tries to stop her, but is disavowed, branded as an imposter. It's pretty clear this unstable mentality is what allows Yuni to trick her way into harming a human. Eventually, the commander and counters show up mid-beating and try to talk Yuni down. We vow to help her, but she no longer believes us. Instead, Yuni shoots herself with the Vapaus bullet, freeing herself of Nymph. Now, she plans to kill both Siuin and the commander. Uh-oh. Finally taking a stand, Mihara swaps senses with Siuin, hoping to deter the attack, but it doesn't at all dissuade Yuni. In a state of delirium, Yuni electrocutes the commander before aiming a gun at Siuin's head and pulling the trigger. Mihara intercepts the shot, taking a termination round to the brain. Even though Mihara is the one getting shot, the pain from this injury goes straight to Siuin, who's reduced to a convulsing mess on the floor, foaming at the mouth in agony. Seeing how she just killed her own beloved partner, Yuni has a mental breakdown. That's when Crow enters the fray, shooting her for wasting her only chance. After what's happened thus far, Crow's final goal is to break the commander's will. She wants to anger him so much that he kills her, forever tainting his resolve. The commander is still weak from Yuni's attack, and can only watch as Crow proceeds to shoot Rapi, Anise, and Neon. She and Viper then start running for the nearest surface elevator. Along the way, Viper stops Crow and declares they've taken things too far. She admits she's fallen for the commander, and how he always tries to help them despite their malice. Viper plans to turn herself in, and reports Crow's location to both the commander and EH, who crashes in from the ceiling. EH wants revenge, having barely survived the excavation bomb. She's much too weak to fight, but she does, however, buy enough time for the commander to catch up. In a murderous rage, we ignore Viper as she tries to apologize and make amends. Instead, we vow to kill her right after we're done with Crow. I guess this is what seeing your comrades executed will do to a man. At the same time, Siuin regains consciousness in a hospital bed. Straining heavily, she pulls out a replacement phone and tries to detonate Crow's collar. In her frail state, though, she accidentally activates Viper's collar instead. It lights up, signaling how it's about to explode. Seeing Viper on the verge of death brings the commander back to his senses. We try to remove the collar, but it's too late. Viper shoves us away before her head is blasted off her body. Crow takes this chance to flee to the elevator, but the commander tackles her. Sheer anger fuels him enough to toss Crow to the ground and hold her at gunpoint. He's just about to kill her when Rapi arrives and steals the shot. Crow takes a suppression bullet to the face and collapses. In his panic, the commander never realized Crow had only used suppression bullets earlier. Not even she can ignore her inhibitor entirely. With the ordeal settled, the commander is glad to see his squad alive and well. Rapi came just in time to stop him from taking the life of another Nikke. She doesn't want him, of all people, stooping that low. After being captured, Crow is rushed in for a brain scan, which confirms her as the ringleader. Rather than scrap her, the Ark plans to use her as a research subject to better understand how she can defy Nymph without Vapaus. It appears things worked out over in the Outer Rim, too. Doban gets reprimanded by Mustang for his egotistical purge. Underworld Queen successfully held him back, and after seeing everyone in the Rim unarmed, the central government spared their lives. Still, Sakura, Rosanna, and Moran had defied a commanding officer and were nearly subjected to a memory wipe. Mustang negotiated otherwise by giving up Tetra's live broadcasting station. Now the government has control over all televised media. I think it's bullshit how Doban more or less gets off scot-free. As for Yuni, she's being held in confinement until deemed sane enough for a brain scan. Mihara, despite having her brain shot, underwent emergency surgery. Her memories were wiped in the process, but is otherwise expected to make a full recovery. That's insane. The truth about this terrorist attack is being kept from the public, who emerge from this more grateful to Nikkes than ever. Crow's plan really backfired, huh? Also survives, finding herself in a hospital bed near Ingrid. As atonement, she wants to be turned into a Nikke. Ingrid accepts this, referring to as Elysian Harper. Is she perhaps related to Ingrid? I'm not sure, but otherwise it's one hell of a coincidence to have the same name as Ingrid's company. Poor Jackal thinks she's all alone now, but is surprised to see Viper show up. Apparently, when the commander yanked on her collar, it altered the angle of its explosion, and it just barely missed her brain. Sure, it blasted the rest of her head apart, but that can be replaced as long as the brain is still intact. The two of them vow to keep watch over the Outer Rim without deceit. The commander gets evaluated by Enoch, with his heroic deeds contrasted by helping Siuin lure raptures to the Ark. As far as she's concerned, those two things cancel each other out, so we're even. Whatever promotions we would have gotten are immediately taken away. I think that's fair, all things considered. Dorothy finally gets her meeting with Birmingham. Like a jerk, he doesn't give her any praise for having delivered a dead heretic, and sadly, none of the Ark's people got to see her in action since they were in shelters. Regardless, she wants to be the ambassador for a pact between Eden and the Ark. As a token of goodwill, she offers up a USB drive containing the tech behind Eden's optical camouflage. Despite all this, Birmingham still doesn't trust her, and while he offers to speak to his superiors, Dorothy opts to explore more of the Ark with Folly and Miranda. Specifically, she requests to visit the MMR, where Cecil used to work. At first, she's only planning to see the upper floors where she's authorized, but that changes when alpha particles start concentrating. They cause Folly and Miranda to pass out, but Dorothy retains the strength to force her way deep into the MMR core, where she finds Nihilist are still alive. This whole time, the Fire Dragon was only playing dead, knowing the Ark would try to bring her to the Atlas cages where her heretic allies are. She's already fed some of her weapons to Material H in an effort to revive Indivilia. If she succeeds, we'll have 2 heretics in the Ark and no Vapaus to attack them with. The commander and counters are called in to deal with Material H, while Dorothy fights the dragon. We win on our end, only to find out we were actually fighting an illusion created by Material H. In truth, it had already revived as Indivilia, who recovered by devouring various Nikkes that came to protect the MMR. She then uses her sharp tail to chop Anise and Neon into pieces. It's gruesome as fuck, but thankfully they can still be rebuilt if we make it out of this alive. To make things worse, though, Chatterbox is revived as well. Knowing we stand no chance against them in a fight to the death, Rapi takes the initiative. Once again, she activates her Red Hood mode and has Enoch prepared to launch the invaders out through the nearest elevator shaft. In other words, Rappy's looking to pull an Evangelion move. With Dorothy forced into a supportive role, Rappy charges in and beats up all 3 enemies like ragdolls. In a moment of pure badassery, she grabs Indivilia's tail, breaks it off, and uses it as a sword. All tangled up, the 3 enemies are forced into the elevator. Rappy allows herself to get ejected along with them, but only after asking the commander to come find her on the surface. Even though the Ark just survived another close call, Birmingham is still fixated on Dorothy and confers with Enoch as to whether or not Dorothy's been colluding with the heretics. They agree it's highly likely, but we know that's a load of crap. Still, Enoch requests clearance to manufacture her own line of defensive Nikkes to ensure this never happens again. Specifically, she plans to create 2 of them, and I'll tell ya, their designs are super sexy when they show up in later chapters. We were gonna do this anyway, but Ingrid asked us to search for Rappy. She can't tell us anything specific about Red Hood, but doesn't mind if we figure it out while looking. It's not just a matter of finding Rappy physically either. No, after using Red Hood so much, her body actually transforms into Red Hood proper. It's been a while, but she's back, sorta. When Siyuin is able to move again, she's called in to face Enoch's judgment. As punishment for her illicit actions, she is sentenced to become a Nikke and serve under the commander. Holy crap, that's her worst nightmare! Lastly, after being ejected from the Ark, Chatterbox, Nihilister, and Indivilia argue amongst themselves. Nihilister berates them for losing to Rappy, but rather than submit to her abuse, the other 2 straight up devour her to strengthen their bodies. Brutal.
Hey guys, Dai-chan here. This actually won't be a spoiler section for once. Instead, I'm taking over as we cover Nikke's second side story, Wordless. While the commander prepares to search for Rappy, we still have the matter of Yuni and her punishment. After all, she's still at the rehabilitation center for her crime of leading humans to their deaths. Oh, and she also tried to murder Siyuin. I suppose that's not okay, even though I can't blame her. Instead of her own fate, Yuni just wants to know if Mihara is okay after accidentally shooting her. Mana, however, refuses to divulge any information. Killers can't be choosers after all. Though, after Yuni begs and apologizes enough, Mana reluctantly decides to deliver a single message on her behalf. Over at the repair center, Mihara is successfully revived. Her memories should all be gone, just like her previous memory wipe. She only has the data from her past to go on, as well as specific combat memories for her work. Even though her brain is currently unstable, Basilis wants the Wardress squad back on duty. This means Yuni will be returning to work as well, but she's no longer the same person we recognize. Turns out, Siyuin has a sister named Jian, but that's kept as a confidential secret. Jian decided to use Yuni's punishment as an excuse for experimentation. Thus, Yuni's body was turned into a monstrous fusion of Nikke and rapture parts. There's a mask across her face, and an explosive restraint meant to trigger if she goes too long without checking back into the Ark. On top of that, since she used speech to commit her crime, Yuni's language capabilities have been revoked. Now, all she can do is cry out in different pitched coos. Since her nymph was reinstalled, there's no telling how many of her memories remain intact. At least that's what Mana tells Mihara. Simply interacting with Yuni proves that she has something important to tell Mihara, but can only coo in futility. Even so, Mihara wants to communicate. To that end, she employs the help of Leona from the Happy Zoo squad. I suppose now's a good time to introduce them. Fundamentally, the Ark still has some interest in biological animals, and Happy Zoo is put in charge of managing those various creatures. Leona, in particular, is responsible for large carnivores rescued from the surface. This includes bears, wolves, birds, tigers, and her special lion, Timmy. She's not afraid of her animals, instead noting how compassionate they can be. If there's anything she fears, it's actually smaller animals, as she might accidentally hurt them. When things go wrong with their pets, the members of Happy Zoo reach out to the commander for help, treating him as an honorary zookeeper. For example, Leona seeks our aid when Timmy starts acting unusually. We learn this is because Leona's animals aren't spayed or neutered as a means of preserving their species. The commander points out how Timmy's got some unresolved male urges and offers to venture to the surface so he can find a mate. Fortunately, raptures don't usually target animals. This outing has Leona curious about what it's like to seek out a mating partner. Thus, while Timmy scores with some lionesses, Leona and the commander give in to their animal instincts. Nero, this scantily clad cat girl, is obviously in charge of handling cats and is able to understand how they communicate. Much like a cat, she enjoys high places, self-grooming, cardboard boxes, and chasing moving objects. She also harbors a fear of water. This becomes a problem when being tested on her aquatic responsiveness, and she's too afraid to even try the test. It all stems from her past, when a kitten in her care passed away from a freezing downpour of rain. She's been traumatized ever since, but braves that fear so she can keep her job at the animal shelter. The commander helps train her for the evaluation, and she just barely makes the cut. As thanks, she offers to groom him whenever he wants. I'm gonna consider this wholesome, as the grooming in question involves licking his hair. Let me know if you disagree. The last member of Happy Zoo is Biscuit, a Nikke who looks suspiciously like the VTuber Korone. As expected, she takes care of all the shelter's dogs, and also takes up pet sitting for the Ark's citizens. She's especially keen at understanding animal communication, allowing her to rescue strays and abuse victims. Beyond her professional demeanor, she has canine interests like playing fetch, running, and sniffing for clues. Understanding these urges firsthand makes her a phenomenal dog trainer. Just don't invite her to dinner, as she's likely to bring along a bag of kibble for herself. The commander will sometimes accompany her dog-sitting, only to find himself playing fetch with both her and the client's pet. One job has them looking after Beatrice, a spoiled dog from Royal Road. After Beatrice is kidnapped for ransom, Biscuit is able to track her down through Send. There's not so much as a hint of sexual energy between Biscuit and the commander. She's too busy obsessing over dogs to consider anything else. So yeah, Happy Zoo specializes in non-verbal communication, and Mihara hopes that Leona and Timmy can teach her how to interact with Yuni. After signing a confidentiality form, ensuring she won't reveal Yuni's experimental body, Leona is allowed into the rehab center. Words may not be an option, but Leona stresses the importance of eye contact and physical touch. Beneath Yuni's mask, her eyes are locked on to Mihara as a top priority. The two reach a point where they can process simple yes or no questions. However, when it comes to what Yuni really wants to say, she averts her gaze, feeling tremendous guilt. Hoping to better understand these emotions, Mihara goes to Yuni's old room. Most all of her possessions were seized, except for the contents of her trash can. Inside is a torn-up photo of Wordless and Siyuin, happily posing for the camera. Seeing this rouses some dormant parts of Mihara's mind, allowing her to vaguely remember that moment in time. Back then, Wordless was created as Siyuin's pride and joy. They were meant to bolster Siyuin's reputation by hunting the rare rapture chatterbox. However, they failed in that task many times over, and things only went downhill ever since. Mihara wants to know why Yuni committed her crimes, why she wanted to kill Siyuin so badly, but most important, what Yuni is trying to tell her right now. Mana takes this opportunity to leak a video recording on USB drive containing Yuni's last will of sorts. That confirms that, this whole time, she's been trying to ask, does your head still hurt? Now, when Mihara listens to Yuni's cooing, the message is as clear as day. They've finally reached an understanding. Even though Yuni can't be forgiven for all her sins, at the very least, Mihara forgives the matter of shooting her. Yuni no longer has to worry that she killed Mihara. With that settled, Mihara visits Siyuin in her office to ask a favor. The rotten CEO is ungrateful, but when Mihara requests her own explosive restraint, Siyuin reluctantly complies. Consider it a final parting gift to her former masterpieces. If one of their restraints detonates, the other one is set to explode as well. It's sad how things have come to this, but Mihara nonetheless thanks Siyuin for creating her. Left alone, Siyuin tries to fool herself into thinking she doesn't care. There's at least some sentiment left though, as Mihara's restraint is installed alongside a brand new body. Siwon was hoping to give this to her after wrangling Chatterbox, but now's as good a time as any. I personally prefer it to her older design. Thus, Wardress Squad returns to the surface in search of rare Rapture variants. They now strive to succeed where they once failed. This time around, I don't have much to analyze. There will be more than enough time for that once we've caught up with the main story. We'll be starting Chapter 25. We've already covered so much, but there's still so much more ahead of us. It's exciting, and I hope you continue this journey with me. Once again, signing up as a channel member is the best way to support what we do here. Give it some thought, and until next time, celebrate your fandom!
I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters: Video Gamer 75, Dante Pendragon, Stephen Elak, Mystic Samurai 1983, Otaku Mom, Free Brick, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Lunar Works, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Crow Calum, Saul Soto, Matal Mataru, Winter's Edge, Sneer Cachette, Foxbox, Alzinga Fagan, Caitlin P, Sith Lord 906, Vladimirovna, The Taz 96, Kengo X 77, and Alistair Bernadotte. Thank you all so much.